There's a growing movement in Texas to reduce punishments for teenage sex crimes.
Lawmakers demanded tough sentences in such cases, but critics say the laws are having unintended and devastating consequences. Only on KXAN Austin News tonight, Jim Swift brings us this special report.
08311, Gene Carlo Ponzanelli.
When Gene Ponzanelli was 17 years old, he had what he says was consensual sex with a teenage girl. He told us what happened in a telephone interview from the Williamson County Jail.
I never thought about her age because it never bothered me because I didn't know. I figured she was 2, 3 years older. I thought she was a year younger than me.
Turns out the girl was 13 at the time. But Ponzanelli says she told him she was 15.
If I would have known the age, I know I wouldn't have done it.
Under current Texas law, sex with a child under the age of 13 is prohibited, no matter what. Sex with a child aged 13 through 16 is also illegal. But under a so-called Romeo and Juliet exception to the law, authorities will not prosecute in those cases if the sex was nonviolent and consensual and if the partners are no more than 3 years apart in age. So if you are 2 years, 365 days older than your partner, you skate. Just one additional day, though, now you're a felon. In Ponzanelli's case, though he says he didn't know it at the time, the difference was 3 years and 9 months. He was toast.
Assess your punishment of confinement in the institutional division for 3 years.
These are kids, and they're doing kid stuff, and it goes on all the time, and they were unfortunate enough to get caught. Okay.
Dr. George Parker, a forensic psychiatrist specializing in the treatment of sex offenders, wonders what was in the minds of lawmakers.
Did they intend that some 17-and-a-half, 18-year-old boy is going to wind up with a big, heavy-duty criminal record and have his life really messed up as a consequence of this? Is that what they really meant to do? I don't think so.
The 20-year-old man who has had consensual sexual activity with his 16-year-old girlfriend has broken the law. But his offense is much different than 60-year-old Uncle Joe who has molested his 6-year-old niece. There's a huge difference here, a huge difference.
And the law does not acknowledge
the
that
law
difference.
does not differentiate.
Mary Sue Moner heads up an organization called Texas Voices, which is working with legislators to reform the state's teen sex laws. Possible changes include reducing charges to the misdemeanor crime of sexual misconduct, dropping a requirement for listing those convicted on the Texas Sex Offender Registry, and removing those already placed on the list, and designing treatment programs for them that are separate from those conducted for hardcore offenders.
After Gene, was sentenced, and then after, he was transported, it was kind of hard. Because I kind of felt like this is a hopeless cause, that we're not going to make a difference. And even my daughter told me, she says, Mom, you can fight till the day you die, and they're not going to change the law. And a lot of people seem to believe that.
Do you?
I told my daughter I'll die trying.
Meanwhile, Gene Ponzanelli is serving his time in a Texas prison in Huntsville. Jim Swift, KXAN, Austin News.
We've put together some internet links regarding this story that will allow you to learn about some similar cases here in Texas and around the country. You can also see what critics of the laws are doing to try to change them, and you can express your own opinion on a KXAN Austin News message board. Just go to KXAN.com. The story is posted there on the front page.